Hi everyone, welcome back to Book Club. I couldn't be more excited for today's, for so many reasons. One, because to cover one of Stephanie's works is so exciting. I got an advanced copy of this book, humble brag, and loved it, devoured it, truly could not have gobbled it up faster. And I hope everyone feels the same. And second reason, we have Eva Victor on. If you haven't seen Ava's film, sorry, baby, like actually stop watching this and watch that. I've never felt more seen by a film. It's like this perfect sort of slice of someone's life as they're dealing with trauma and handles trauma in like the most real and authentic and like devastating and also humor-filled way. And now we can get right into it.
It was really good that this opportunity came to my doorstep because I have had like a lot of trouble getting back into reading recently. Like I'm finding
Uh-huh.
it to be very difficult, and I felt that the scope of this book and the way it felt in my hands and the way it looked on the page allowed me to read the full thing, and that's been a challenge recently. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, this was a really important moment in my year to get back into my reading without feeling bad about it.
I'm so glad, and like I love a one-page chapter. It means the world to me.
It gives me like euphoria. And it hits so hard when a chapter is one page, to be honest. You're saying that the value of that chapter is the value of all the other chapters because it's a chapter, and the fact that it's so short, it's like job well done. Like you just hit that, you got in there, you got out. It's very, very effective.
Could not agree more. And there's certain also paragraphs. Speaking of, we're just talking about the format of the book
We're
for
talking
now.
about basically like how to not read.
There was one where the word is just like weapon. And I was
Oh.
like, paragraph done.
Wait, so
Um,
how did you find this book? Tell me the story.
Stephanie is a dear friend of mine and Alyssa. The two of us do library science, just us. She has two other novels, and
That's what I saw, and I was like, man, I wish I had read those too, but that's what I'll do next.
I love authors or any kind of artist where you like consume their work and feel like you know them through it. And
Yeah.
Stephanie's very much one of those people. People are calling it like the sad girl trilogy, which I really
Ain't
like.
that the way it is right now? Ain't
Ain't
that
that
the
the way
world
it is? And honestly, like the first time I read it, I like almost didn't know what it was about. Like
Yeah,
I wasn't fully aware of the assassin plotline.
yes. That took me a
And
second. But there that was kind of a big reveal, I have to say.
yes, like, that's why I like Stephanie's work because you can kind of read it in so many different ways.
It gives like journal vibes in the best way. Like it feels
Yeah.
very intimate and like it feels very off the, I mean, obviously something like this takes, it's such a labor of love, but it feels off the cuff in a good way. Like it feels like someone writing in a very pure way without putting soft edges on hard edges, and we like hard edges. I think
Yeah.
it makes us feel like we're seeing something real. So that part of it was really cool.
And it doesn't like baby you, which I
No.
appreciate. And I think a lot of people have described this as an exorcism, and it's almost like she like vomited it up because she needed it out of her system.
Yes.
And I'm like wondering if you felt this or, this sense of urgency or necessity
I
in
did.
even
And
just like the format and the word choices.
yes, I did. It felt so, it did feel like unfiltered,
Yeah.
and I felt it to be very sexy. Dare
Mhm.
I say? Like I felt it
Yeah.
to be particularly like the yearning of it all. I was kind of like,
Mhm.
oh, and the loneliness. I was like, I liked I liked the character's relationship to men. It wasn't like glossy, and
No.
it was so blunt. I keep thinking like it's blunt.
Yeah, also like yearning without desperation, which I feel like so many novels I read now are like so full of desperation and the protagonists are like sometimes unbearable and I feel like with that there's sort of like she does have feelings and yearn, but it's without this sense of like desperation.
We have to talk about her name being Bat.
That so cool. Battery.
Can't go
That's
wrong.
cool. Margot's cool.
Margot's cool. Francis is cool.
I thought you were so perfect for this because I got the same sense when I watched Sorry Baby of like urgency and like needing to get something sort of out. And I'm
Definitely.
curious if as a writer you've had that experience of like just needing to get something out of your system.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think like the exorcism that you called it is so the right word because it's like this real need to process through like excavating something, and
Hmm.
it's kind of like this I felt reading this book, I'm like, this character is not ahead of what they're processing in putting this together, even
Mhm.
though it's like the author is, but the character isn't. And I feel that I felt that with Sorry Baby of like I I think the character is trying to figure out why everything's happening and it's slow
Mhm.
and it's like this real methodical thing and I feel like the comfort in silence, the loneliness, the like um the reflecting on how weird it is to be alive and to have like experienced difficult things but then still be just living your life and trying to have sex kind of it's like
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
trying to like see people and be close to people and the parallel between like the way I was feeling writing about Agnes's relationship to Liddy, I felt sort of
Mhm.
in Bat's relationship with her mother, who she's like texting and she's like, oh, I would tell someone about this text, but the person I would tell is the person I'm texting. Like I thought that was so,
Yeah,
so
I
helpful.
highlighted that part because I was like,
Wait,
I understand that so much. Did
there were
you?
so many things I highlighted that I was like, that I need to look at. Let me read you one of them.
Please.
I looked at him for as long as I could before I became uncomfortable. Not in the way of feeling uneasy because something was wrong, but uneasy in the other way. There had to be a word for that when something makes you uneasy because it's familiar and correct and everything else is not. Okay. Don't you think the idea that like when something feels so good that it makes everything else come into question is it's such a thing I'd never thought of, but is a true feeling. Anyway,
It's no, it's the most true feeling. Every good moment to me is like actually just highlighting all the bad moments.
because it's like this is already logging as a memory and I'm already depressed in the future or in the past.
Yeah, and I'm depressed that I'm not here anymore,
Right.
even though I
Sad
am
that this
here
is
right now.
over.
I think I love people who write without perspective. And there's this like Jack Gilbert poem that I'm not gonna try to quote, but it's basically like that he's saying he was afraid of the moment where you return to love with perspective. And I think that's like very real about especially like these traumatic things that we go through, like you return to them with like all this perspective and all the healing or whatever you've done or whatever, just time in general, like distancing you from it, and it just becomes like a more factual memory rather than having emotion. And I really enjoy being on the ride with like someone like Agnes or Bat because there isn't perspective yet.
Yes, so true. That's and it's kind of cool because as the writer, you get to be the one with perspective telling the story, but you get to create a character that is just trying to survive that day, but the
Mhm.
writing of it and the documenting of it is the perspective creation or something.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Our assassin goes by Bat, both Band and Witch and Weapon. What did you think of the name and the idea that, like, right out of the gate, we're sort of getting a hint, or Stephanie's giving us a hint that this character is multiple different things at the same time?
Oh my God, what did I think of that? Fucking cool. I feel like this character I was immediately addicted to,
Mhm.
and I wanted her to like me.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's something so I feel like it's such a gift to yourself as a writer to name your character. Like
Mhm.
name my experience of naming is not really like a meaning, but more just like energetically, like this is the only name they could have. And once you figure it out, it's like this euphoric feeling of like, that's this person. Like I figured it.
Yeah.
And if you try to take it away from me, I'm gonna freak out.
Yeah.
Like if you try on any other name, it doesn't work. And it's such a joy to like get to build someone. And I feel like it's true too with like naming a piece. Like naming the
Mm.
film Sorry Baby was also this like thing I did after I had written it as like a reward and it
Mm.
just like once it clicked into place it just felt right. And I was actually like really surprised this book was called Nymph
Hmm.
because it's like what Iggy calls her. But then
Hmm.
I'm like, it does make sense because spoilers, by the way. To me, I'm like, that's so interesting because I do feel like there is this thing where guys like to call girls like creatures or something.
What
I
is
know what it is. I know what it is. I think it's just they are like you're out of this world and what they
that?
think is
Ew.
like you're no, it's crazy. But then again, like Iggy can call her whatever.
I know.
If he's hot. But yeah, I was surprised the book was called Nymph, but then I was like, I think it has to do with water.
Yeah, and like being born out of like her mother trying to commit suicide with her
Well,
in the
that's
belly and like the connection to water.
but this is the thing about reading books is like sometimes you feel so stupid.
But that's like why I do this because I feel stupid all the time reading books. I genuinely did not pick up on the assassin plotline, which is what the book is about the first time I read it. I don't take things at face value usually. Like when she literally says, I'm an assassin, you go like, haha.
Yeah. Well,
But
because
she
she's
like
saying
she
so
means
much
it.
other poetic stuff. Like,
Right.
he is an assassin, like energetically as well. But you know what
Yeah.
was interesting? The whole book, she doesn't confront what happens. Like, and we
Yeah.
don't know what happens.
Both Nymph and Sorry Baby are sort of about violence through its subversion, and like you made the choice not to show the explicit assault in your film, just like how Stephanie doesn't actually take us through what happens when Bat is blindfolded. And I'm curious how you think that decision shaped in your film how audiences engage with Agnes's experience or how you personally connected to Bat's whatever happened, the incident that happened to her.
Yeah, I feel like by moving away from violence, it makes room for something else.
Mm,
And what I feel like in this novel, it made room for me to understand the psychology of someone without having to understand what exactly happened.
hmm
And I feel like in this, like, it's kind of like you get to know someone without knowing their past.
hmm
Through the reading of the book, you get to know her. And I guess you do
hmm
know her past, like, as a child, but without knowing about, like, the trauma, the every little piece of trauma that shaped her, she becomes this, like, person you're meeting through how she's deciding to talk about herself. And in the same way, uh I that was my goal in the film, is that you meet Agnes on her own terms with in this like joyful reunion with her best friend, and then we go back in time, and hopefully by then you've fallen in love with who she is and how she talks and how they interact. um
hmm
and I also really wanted like to give Agnes the privacy of not
hmm
telling us what happened to her until she's ready to, and that her
hmm
words alone are enough for us to believe her, and that the film
Yeah.
believes her at her word. And I feel like in the same way, like that is only questioned like once about what happened, really, and like she doesn't tell us what happened, and I like
hmm
respect that the character's allowed to have privacy, because to me um it's less in of an invasion. If she doesn't want to tell us, then we shouldn't know. And we
Right.
can still know her and know her energy without every invasive like detail. And I really
Yeah.
I respected that a lot.
No, I think I completely agree, and I think sometimes like, well, one what I've experienced personally is like in the sort of recounting of trauma, it suddenly becomes like a story you're telling, and if you
Yeah.
tell it a lot, and kind of can almost obstruct you from healing it because it just becomes like a repetitive story that you tell rather than actually figuring out how you feel about it.
Yes, you like dilute it to yourself, and
Yeah.
the way you're shaping it has to do with who you're telling it to. So
Mhm.
that's very dangerous, because you don't want to be like we move around the world not wanting to be judged or whatever for what's
Yeah.
happened to us. And if you change things to be not judged, which you do because you're alive and you don't want people to hurt you,
Yeah.
then it's going to morph your memory. And I guess it's back to memory of like the memory of a memory of a memory. Like it becomes something new, which I guess is
Mhm.
inevitable, but like it's also to preserve the memory as much as you can. We deserve that. We deserve that kind
Yeah.
of privacy.
Yeah, and then like the belief within that privacy. And I don't think like what I love so much about both Agnes and Bat is you do get to know them even though a lot of the information like is kind of held close. You're still like understanding them through just like watching them exist and go move through the world. And I think that I appreciate that. And I think there's also this sort of like difference between violence and the aftermath of violence.
Yes. And like how it shapes someone over time, totally.
Completely, completely. Like, and the sort of the event is so short and the aftermath is so long.
Yeah.
And I think like both Sorry Baby and Nymph do a good job of balancing the tone of something really traumatizing and heavy and then also bringing levity and like humor to it.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's like so important. And I'm the person that's like, I've laughed at every funeral I've ever gone to and like not because I think it's funny. I just like,
Yeah, obviously, that would be crazy. You're like,
I'm like,
LOL,
ha.
sorry, this is
No,
not voluntary. This is a trauma response, I
it
think.
is. It is
Yeah.
a trauma response. And it like I feel betrayed by my trauma response, which is laughter. And like I got kicked out of my grandfather's funeral for laughing so hard. And literally it was not funny. Like he was an amazing man and I miss him very
Well,
much. But like I couldn't stop laughing.
well, by the way, you laughing at the funeral makes you the main character of the situation, I have to tell you.
And
Like,
my parents were really not happy with me, obviously. But I
how
think
old
that
were you?
like eight.
Oh my God, I thought you were an adult. I was still on your side.
No, but like if someone has bad news to deliver to me, I'm like, text it to me first because I laugh and then I can like bring
You
myself
actually
down towards
laugh when you get bad news every
yeah,
time now, even?
every time. I don't, and
That's so funny.
I think they're just like like those emotions are so close. Like
Yes.
laughter and sadness are so close together for me that sometimes my body just like chooses one without asking me, and then that becomes the thing.
Well, it's like a release. That's the thing. I,
Right.
I agree. It's like, and it both kind of make noise, both are disruptive, both are very uniting if you're doing it with someone. Like if you're
Mhm.
laughing with someone, that's a very uniting thing. If you're crying with someone, that's like crazy. So it's like
Yeah.
it is the same thing, and I do think it's a circle, and I do think also laughter isn't always because something's like when you're making something, you don't intend for people to laugh always because something's funny.
Hmm.
Like sometimes you want them to laugh because they feel warm, or sometimes you want them to laugh
Hmm.
because you're making fun of someone who's being evil, and it's
Hmm.
cathartic to laugh because it's like I feel seen or something.
Hmm.
Discomfort is very painful, and laughter is a release.
What I like, I think about both of these, both Sorry Baby and Nymph, is that they kind of think about body as a site of action, like Bat's body as like assassin, sex worker, Agnes's body as like a professor and a survivor and a person negotiating trauma. Um, I'm curious if that was like something that you were actively thinking about, like reading and writing your film, or if that kind of just like revealed itself through already, like once it was already formed.
I think the main takeaway of like that comparison to me that is nice is like people can be many, many things, and the body can be home to many, many parts of you at different
Hmm.
times. And the body is also very protecting, like it will protect you from different things and knowing about things that are happening to you until later, until
Hmm.
you're prepared. And there's like this, I knew I needed to read Lolita to make this movie, and I was always
Hmm.
afraid of reading Lolita, obviously.
Yeah.
And reading it, I was very struck by like how good it is. It's like a novel, and there's this quote in it that I put in the film, which like a student reads out loud, and it's about this narrator who usually is very objectifying of this child, has these few moments throughout the novel of clarity of, wait, is this a person who's full and has and is nuanced and is complicated? Because if
Mhm.
that's true, if that person's a person, then I am doing something abhorrent. But then he quickly walks back the psychology of like, no, 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 that's just my little Lolita, because
Mhm.
it's too painful to imagine someone as full. And I think the work of creating a character, or the joyful part of creating a character, is letting someone be many, many things at once.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes it is seen as conflicting to be writing someone who's many things, but really
Mhm.
I feel like it's just the richest thing you can do, is to give someone many parts that are conflicting and many ways of being in the body. I mean, that's also the work of like an actor, as you know, like it's like what is this body holding in different moments, and where is it comfortable, where is it uncomfortable?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think to feel confined of like I constantly am surprising myself, hence like the laughter at the funeral. Now I'm not so much anymore, but like where I'm like that's so strange that like I found out someone died and now I'm like organizing sunscreens that I didn't even know I had. Like I think that human
Yes.
behavior is like I'm constantly surprising myself, so I really tend to connect. Like I watched Sorry Baby. I mean, I saw it at the screening and then watched it with my whole family, and afterwards they were all like, you're very similar to that.
They're like,
And I was like,
people laughing
really?
at the funeral too.
Yeah, they were like, this is like very close to you. And I was like, that's so interesting. But I think it's like very hard to kind of see ourselves, like zoom out and really see ourselves, especially when we're multiple things. So it was like fascinating to hear other people observe that, that like I
Yes,
really
that's very
couldn't.
cool. I've had a very, very humbling experience of people telling me how awkward they think Agnes is. Like it's been a very interesting journey of like, wow, she's really weird. And when I was at Cannes, like the French people asking me questions, a lot of them were like, she is so unlikable. Like what's up with that? And I was like, whoa, like that was not intentional. Thank you though, like I guess.
Yeah.
But so
No,
crazy that like that's interesting. It's always interesting to see yourself in a character. And I do think that is like in the world of people who are not pretending to be someone, and it's very
yeah,
comfortable for
which is
people.
off-putting for a lot of
Yes.
people.
But this book was a very, very helpful tool to get me back into being someone who likes to read.
Well, I want everything to be digestible.
It's very, very like solitary to read. And
Mhm.
this is making me really understand why people have book clubs. It's fun to talk, and it's kind of like, I feel like this is a very particular time of reading a book. It's like right after you read a book and you haven't talked about it with anyone and you haven't read anything about it, and I'm kind of like, this is really fun to be like, these are my first swings at what this meant to me, but like over time, a book will sort of tell you how it's going to stay with you. So
Yeah.
very cool.
Honestly, I sort of was like, how can I talk about like pr intense things without being like, I've been through this.
Yeah, of course.
And that to me was this book club. And so I get to be like, the character is super traumatized. Let's talk about her. And like that to me is like the appealing thing. And I hope people are listening, going like, wow, yeah, those characters are traumatized, totally different from me. But like ultimately it brings us closer to ourselves.
Well, that's how I feel about like making the movies. I'm like, well, let's talk about Agnes. Like
Yeah.
that was crazy that she went through that. La la la
Yes.
dot dot dot.
No, exactly. It's like we have a safe place to actually like let it all out. And also I think like as an actor, as a writer, you get to like rewrite it or respond in
Yes.
a different way than maybe you did in the past or would in your actual life. And I think that's
Yeah.
like one of the beautiful things about being an artist is you get to kind of like change your reaction.
Yeah, and like prioritize the part of the thing, like make it Agnes's story. Because
Yeah.
in the real world, like it doesn't always feel like that. And it's like, no, let's make this character like let's stay with this person because this is the person that we're focused on, and that feels very healing to
Yeah.
give this person that much time on screen.
Yeah, and to be able to like love and take care of that person in a way that maybe is harder to do for
Yes.
yourself. So I wanted to talk about just another parallel between Sorry Baby and Nymph was this sense of like self-isolation that both characters have. Like Bat grew up isolated, strange and loving with her parents, and Agnes goes through years where she's surrounded by people but kind of still floating in this confusion.
Yeah.
At the same time, both characters in both works have deep connections with friends and like Bat has her mother that do center them. How do you think friendships and loneliness kind of foil one another in both of these works?
Yeah, I mean, it's like this kind of human condition thing of like at the end of the day, we're all very, very alone.
Hmm.
And there are people who can come in very surprising ways to make us feel less alone, even for like a day or for 20 minutes. And that can be very life-saving. And I feel that both both pieces are about like a very, very lonely person who is not really like mad at the world for being lonely or mad at anyone for not being so close all the time, but like just processing what it feels like to be held and to not be held and to
Hmm.
be in the world alone ultimately.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know, it's interesting. I feel like where Agnes ends in the film is very different from where Bat ends in the book. Like it's a
Mm-hmm.
very I feel like they're on very it's a very different part of life.
Yeah.
Um, and it was a very interesting narrative timeline to me because there's so much history of her life, and then
Mhm.
there's like a ton of action at the very end of the book.
Yeah.
And it was very like, which is very interesting structurally to.
Hmm.
It's a very different pace than Sorry Baby, but I do feel like the loneliness I felt very connected to.
And like the loneliness within people who do have people in their lives. Like I think that sort of
Mhm.
people are like, you have to be fully isolated to be lonely, and I think that's like absolutely untrue.
There was something else I was going to say, but I forgot it because I got really obsessed with what you were saying.
No,
But I hope I
no.
remember it.
There's also a real element throughout the book of not wanting to be seen, or rather, like the desire to be invisible, I feel like, for both of these characters in moments.
Mm.
How do you think this idea of hiding can protect us? And then also, I'm curious if you think it hurts more in the long run, or like where that sort of instinct comes from for these characters.
I definitely think both characters are like are observers of the world
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
kind of put them. Oh, I know what I was gonna say, which is
Yay.
actually the answer to this question, kind of.
Okay.
I feel like the thing of being in a like in a family of assassins that you can never talk about is very true. Like,
Mm,
and it's also like a much more fun version of what the truth is. So it's a very it's like it's kind of like super like we kind of understand what that feels like because we come from our families and our families do the weirdest fucking shit and that's
yep.
private
Oh my God. Yep.
and like the idea that like okay I'm an adult but like I have all of these secrets that I can never tell anybody or I have all of this baggage of like you'll never completely understand me because you weren't there and you
Yeah.
don't know my secrets. Like that is a really isolating thing.
Hmm.
And I don't know, like I do think it's both. I mean, both. I also like made Sorry Baby in a way where about a character who has a very intense relationship with literature. So
Hmm.
I do feel like both characters are in this kind of introspective time where observing is more appropriate than you know than like taking huge swings at action in life. Like it's more
Yeah.
the little pieces that make up a life, like getting out of bed or like
Hmm.
I don't know, going to work at the store, or like
Hmm.
there's or like getting through school or something. Like there's um it's like the introspection is appropriate for the phase of life that they're in. Um so I don't know, hiding, I don't fucking know. I feel like I'm always both hiding and completely exposed, but
Same.
that's everything.
Same.
Yeah,
Because
it's
I
so
think it's like
hard.
no matter how much like I like attention when I want it, but if I get it and I was not asking for it, and if someone like finds something in me that I wasn't intentionally putting on display, I have a very uncomfortable time with it. Does that make sense?
Yes. Do you find that you usually are ahead of what you're putting on display? Like people don't
I
probably
try to
notice
be,
you
yeah.
that much. Yeah.
Like I'm like anything you think or say about me, I've already like I basically like when I meet someone will get all of it out of the way. I'm like this, and you can make fun of me for that. Like I try to, and like the funny thing about that is it's really ineffective and like people are really creative and think of things I hadn't thought of. So,
Right.
but I try to get as ahead of things as possible. Do you?
Yes. Yes, I try. I think sometimes I can pull off like being ahead of stuff,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's devastating and I can't.
Do you think that the internet makes us more aware of ourselves or less aware of ourselves?
Oh my God, what do you think?
Or like
Obviously,
incorrectly aware of ourselves, maybe. I
well,
don't
I
know.
think that you can become very confused. It can be very confusing,
Hmm.
especially if your job is tied to having things online. And like when I was writing Sorry Baby, I felt very far from being online and it was
Mm,
amazing.
mm,
And part of putting things out is and having a job where you are wanting people to see your movie is like being online. And it's
yeah,
totally demented and it makes me feel crazy and it makes me
yeah,
feel bad a lot and it makes me feel like really euphoric sometimes in a way that's very dangerous.
yeah.
And I do think we should all at some point just like make a truce to not do it. I don't think that's going to happen. Then again, there's some really, really funny videos on there.
I know.
I at one time went down this really crazy road of every video I saw was a frog in a sweater, but it was like a human-sized sweater and a teeny frog, and they just sit the frog face in the sweater. So it's like it's really cute, but that was like a
What are
really good,
good?
that was a very non-toxic version of the internet that I was
Yeah,
on.
see, like stuff like that. I'm like a lot of mine are like 90-year-old couples who are like, we went to the Empire State Building today, and like they're filming on an iPad, and I'm like, this is perfect. But then there's so much rotten stuff on there too. Okay, do you think that Bat and Agnes would get along if they met, and what do you think they would talk about?
No, I don't think they would get along. I think it would be so
I don't
fucking
either.
awkward. They'd be sitting there, they'd be like, could I go home? But
Yeah,
that's why I think that they are perfect.
they're perfect. No, I agree. It's I think like to have two people who really don't subscribe to like social sort of pleasantries and putting them together, it's sort of like I'm not sure who would actually, I'm not sure they'd speak at all.
I think so too. I think that they would probably find a reason to like roll out of the room.
Yeah.
But I
They
feel that they could be siblings.
And I do think that Agnes would be a really good assassin.
That's really nice. I just got chills, so hope that means something.
Well, you're welcome. Okay, these are
I
the two
think Bat would be a
questions.
very good teacher. Well, Bat is a teacher, a Latin teacher.
Is a Latin teacher.
Never mind what I said.
What book do you find yourself gifting to people the most often?
Oh my God. Oh, I do gift Days of Abandonment,
Also one that I have to read.
but it's this big. I will gift you it.
Really?
Yes, I will.
I'll have a
I had to
pile
think
for
about it
you.
for
Thank you so much for doing this.
it was a joy. You're so easy to talk to. It was so fun.
So are you.
We will be in contact about
Yeah,
our things we need from each
we
other.
have a lot to do.
We have much to do.